So, for example, say there is a student that is a trans student, and they, at the beginning of the school years, I go by pronouns he and him. And if other students have deeply held personal beliefs against that, are those other students and teacher able to purposefully say she when a student has said, my pronouns are he and him?
I would interpret that in this case, that those students would not be compelled to use the word him, I believe, if I get your scenario correctly, but they would still be required to treat that student with respect. If you were coming to me and you said tonight, Director Peterson, Susan Meek, am now going by the pronouns he and him, I would like to be called that, and I had a deeply held personal belief against identity or something like that, would I just constantly say she as one director? No, I wouldn't, but I would probably just call you Director Meek or use some other polite and respectful form of address.
So that's very helpful talking through this, because I think that is extremely important, because if other students refuse to use the pronoun or intentionally use and misgender, that is a form of harassment, which we would then be opening ourselves up to litigation. And not only is it wrong, but we would be opening ourselves up to litigation. And so I think when we put language in here like this, we need to think deeply about how we have respectful classrooms so everyone is respected. No one is above anyone else. We are looking to respect every single student and teacher. And we have heard over and over from our community that we are struggling with homophobic slurs in the classroom and racial slurs and other forms of bullying. And so I would ask us to think deeply about the language that we're using so that we are respecting and honoring all of the students in our classrooms.
And I agree that, and just to be clear for anybody that's listening, bullying, harassment, intimidation, coercion, all of those things, I think we've said, especially over the last few months in light of some of our public speakers, is completely unacceptable. But we need to empower and trust our staff, our building leaders, our classroom leaders, our district leadership team, principals on down, to navigate the complexities. While some of those things, and certainly bullying, even if it's verbal, cyberbullying can definitely be cruel. I also believe that compelled speech can be very cruel, to force people to say things that are against their deeply held beliefs. And I also believe we need to protect students from, frankly, bullying that could come in the form of compelled speech as well. I'll be very clear once again, all bullying and harassment is not to be tolerated in Douglas County. And I think we have a lot of policies and rules, and I think the superintendent has certainly set an expectation from the cabinet all the way down to our individual classroom leaders and staff that that is not acceptable and something we need to continue to promote. Other directors, Director Ray.
So it's a couple of things. I think we need to remember this is a parent engagement policy. It's not a student behavior expectations policy, and it feels like we're adding words in that direction that to me is more appropriate if we want to talk about what we expect of our students in terms of their behavior. I also am concerned if we start putting language that encourages people to say, well, my student has a right to call you whatever you want, whatever he wants based on his convictions. That's different to me. I mean, I understand the compelled speech concern, but then there's also just basic respect. You know, and if I ask you that I want to be referred to as whatever, it's just basic respect for you to refer to me as that. it doesn't have to be pronouns. If I say, I want you to call me Dave instead of director, I mean, out of just sheer respect, that's what we do as humans. And I feel like what we're doing with this policy, again, is trying to make a statement that doesn't belong, and certainly doesn't belong in a parent engagement statement, but again, tries to address a conviction I think that you have, Director Peterson, and feeling like that there have been occasions where students have been asked to refer to someone that is against their conviction or their religion or whatnot. I don't think it belongs here. If you want to get on a, have convictions about that, let's talk about the student discipline policy or the student behavior policy, but I don't see the rationale for inserting it into a family engagement. And as Director Meek stated, I feel like the statement covers what you're concerned about when it says that regarding, or it says, ensuring students will not be compelled to share personal information or make statements about themselves. I think that covers it. I don't think there's any, and you always talk about our teachers in a positive light, but I can't imagine any of our teachers compelling our students to say, you need to call this person that, or you're in trouble. So it seems like there's two different messages. I trust staff to do the right thing, but I don't trust them enough, so I'm going to put something in policy so anyway, I guess that's the confusion. The engagement policy, I don't see why we have words in there about that. And two, I think it's the statement, as Director Meek suggested, says what you needed to have said.
Yeah, again,